is Rad with SOFREP Radio, and you are joining me live right now with Congressman Michael Waltz, former Green Beret.
Yeah,
I believe Colonel, correct, sir?
that's right. Still going. I think we're pretty sure I'm the only member of Congress jumping out of airplanes.
Yes, right. Now, speaking of jumping out of airplanes, you're airborne. I ask a lot of my guests that are airborne, have you ever had some type of crazy issue that you had to just recover while you were in flight or jumping out of an airplane?
Yeah, actually, it was jumping over Niger and looked down as we were, as I was heading down towards the Sahara Desert, and my reserve was dangling down by my legs. Somehow, and to this day, the jump masters, I mean, no one who was an expert could figure out how both my clips that hold the reserve in place came undone. But thank God I didn't need it that day because it wasn't there.
Oh man. So yeah, that's crazy. And your thoughts are just probably running a million miles an hour. You're thinking through the whole process, yeah?
Yeah. Actually looking up to make sure your main chute is there and operational. But man, I mean, jumping with foreign militaries out of foreign aircraft and just different systems, it makes it interesting. But I have to just tell you real quick, the best one I've ever done was recently. I jumped on the 75th anniversary of D-Day over St. Mary Glees, which is where the 82nd Airborne jumped on June 5th, 1944. Out of an original World War II C-47 that's still flying 80 years later. But the coolest thing was they did it with a 92-year-old paratrooper. The last time he had jumped was 1944, and here he was jumping. He was tandem with a Green Beret buddy of mine, but he was hooting and hollering all the way down to the ground, and he yelled out, "This was a hell of a lot more fun than getting shot at by the Germans." And the reaction of the French people in Normandy was just spectacular. I mean, you would have thought D-Day had happened like last year, not 75 years ago. The amount of American flags and thank yous and hugs and welcome to our liberators and we love our freedom. It was, if you haven't gone to Normandy and spent some time there, it should be on every veteran's bucket list, every American's bucket list.
Right, probably everyone's bucket list, just to have that remembrance of, I want to go there. So that's a goal. I'm pointing right at you. I got you. Now that's a great transition. So, still in the military, still rolling the colonel, still, officer, home of the brave. That's what our nation is. Okay, that's what we like to always remember it. Okay, you fall into that category. And so you have a book that we're just going to jump right into and kind of put out there that's coming out, and it's called Dawn of the Brave, and that's a children's book. I want you to tell us a little bit about what your thoughts and feelings are about before and writing that. What were you putting into that? Please tell us.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's a children's book. It's the target age is 6 to 10 years old. It's actually part of a subscription. And if you go to bravebooks.com, it's not available on Amazon. It's only available on bravebooks.com. In order of subscription, the kids get one a month. Actually, my wingman in Congress, Navy SEAL Dan Crenshaw, has really championed one as well. But each one has a different theme and focus for kids. Mine was on teamwork and serving your country. The characters in the book, we have a hippopotamus, a gorilla, a cheetah. They all have different attributes and strengths and weaknesses. They all have to come together as a team to defend Freedom Island against the invading pirate rats that seek to take their liberties and take their freedoms away. And they learn about teamwork and they learn about self-sacrifice and service through the book. And through their experience. And by the way, before I forget, $15 of every subscription is going to Samaritan's Purse that's helping Ukrainian refugees. But the broader piece is, I think we need to instill our kids at a very early age about the value of service, of serving your community, serving your country, serving your neighbors and each other. That's what this country was founded on. The greatest generation in World War II, I think, was the epitome of it. And now that we're moving a couple of generations away from the draft, I think we're losing a lot of that, a lot of that sense and a lot of that drive. And that's what this book is intended to get us back to.
Sure. And I think what you're kind of touching on is kind of what George Washington dealt with during the Revolutionary War, which was like, the troops would kind of go home.
Yeah.
And they weren't kind of doing PT anymore. They weren't ready to get back into the fight. So you had to keep them kind of, spurred up to keep going. And if we lose that sense and get kind of softer and comfortable, then when it hits the fan,
yeah,
everybody has to like.
That's right. And I think, now that we're a couple of generations away from the draft, and I'm not advocating going back to the draft, but I think we could incentivize better because, at that time, what did every young person learn? They learned teamwork, discipline, leadership, followership. And importantly, this is the most important point. You did it with other Americans that didn't look like you, whether you're from downtown Detroit or a farm kid from West Indiana or a Jewish kid from Brooklyn. You were all forced overcome your differences and your biases and to understand each other's perspective. We're kind of missing that now. I think we need to get back to that. It doesn't have to be in the military. It can be in national parks or it can be in elderly care.
Boy Scouts. Let's just hit the Boy Scouts back up because let's look at who kicked Hitler's butt, right? It was our Boy Scouts versus his so-called, Hitler Youth Boy Scouts. So when our grandpappies got of age after Boy Scouts, they were fighting.
Yep, that's right.
And
Black, white, or brown, they learned that the enemy's bullets don't care. And
that's right.
It's about mission, it's about country, and it's about taking care of each other. And so those lessons, I think we've drifted away from, and that's what this book is hoping and looking to instill at an early age.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And like I think a program like athletics, getting out and playing on a baseball team as a young kid. My whole goal was like, I want to be a professional baseball player. I can't wait at 7 to go play baseball, be put in a team environment, and just always be outside off the Xbox, there wasn't even the Xbox. It was like Nintendo Mario. Come on. It was like the 80s, but that was more like when we had to have, an outside coming home when the streetlights go on kind of attitude, it's like I was jumping my bike off of a wood plank with my friends, and I'm sure you were too, right? So it's like today that kind of doesn't exist. And so we have to make sure that the next generation that's going to take over and the next generation and the next generation have that instilled in them. I completely agree. That's a really cool, you should go check out. Tell me the name of the, it's bravebooks.com. Is that?
That's right. Bravebooks.com. Get your subscription there. Portions of the proceeds are going to help Ukrainian refugees, and for subscription, and the kids they get a book a month. The illustrations are beautiful. I did not do the illustrations. They don't forces, but I think the themes are wholesome, family focused, and right on.
That's really awesome. Now that we've got that out there, if you're listening right now on SOFREP, I just want you to go check that out and give Mike the chance to get your review on his book. Go there, check it out. Now let's go to Congressman Waltz. Let's talk to Congressman Waltz. Now, Congressman, it's a very interesting climate in the globe right now, and I mean like literally with rising waters and contaminated pollutants in the water. And I know you're out of Florida. What are you doing to help try to bring awareness to the climate in Florida and maintaining it so it's on a positive up? What can you tell please?
Yeah, sure. Look, I mean, the environment in Florida, unlike some other places, isn't really a partisan issue. I live a block from the beach. Thank God. I love it. I grew up on the water, and clean water, a beautiful environment isn't just an aesthetic issue for Floridians. It's our way of life. Whether that's driving tourism that employs so many people, or the fishing industry, or we can go on and on, but it's absolutely crucial. And so, I'm on the Science, Space, and Technology Committee in Congress. We've pushed a number of research initiatives and other initiatives to get at the bottom of green algae blooms, which come from
Okay.
all kinds of pollutants, everything from septic tanks to agricultural runoff. And we can go down the list, but to better understand that, to really craft solutions to go after it. And then other initiatives to help our manatee population that is sadly dying off because of a lack of seagrass that they need. I mean, they literally eat hundreds of pounds a day in order for them to survive. We've had red tide issues. And then we have a vibrant, I mean, the number 2 industry in Florida behind tourism is agriculture. Actually, a third of the country's food comes from Florida or through Florida's ports in the winter for the entire nation. So we have to have an agricultural sector that can thrive, but how do we do that in a way that preserves our environment? And it can't be an either or. And just one other important point is we can't lose sight of agriculture. Agriculture is the number 2 industry in Florida behind tourism. A third of the nation's food actually flows through Florida in the winter. And so it can't be an either or between the environment and agriculture and our farming community. And what we're trying hard to do is to have a healthy balance of both.
Yes, and that's good. And I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah, right? We're having this conversation, and I enjoy your oranges.
Thank you. Play our key lime pie too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Well, what I want to do is come down to Key Largo. I want to do all the Beach Boys cities that they sing about, and come check out, Key West and see where Miami Vice filmed the whole Phil Collins episode, and just like, the whole, that's, to me, growing up, that child of the 80s and 90s, man, that's Florida to me. I've been to Orlando, SHOT Show, when they had a SHOT Show back in the day in Orlando. I went there. So that was cool. It was January, and it was like 70.
Well, you've got to add St. Augustine, Florida to your list. That's where I am. And it is actually the oldest continuous city in America. It started in 1565 with the Spanish, and it's just a beautiful historic town right there on the water, and just a few minutes from the beach.
Oh, that sounds like a very cool place to just walk and find yourself, like just look at the sunset and appreciate what you're doing.
You live in, yeah, for sure.
That is for sure. You totally put your toes in the sand. That's awesome. So now, growing up, did you do Boy Scouts? I'm just curious. Were you in any sports or anything like that?
Yeah, I did. I did Boy Scouts for a while. If I remember correctly, I think I was raised by a single mom who was just trying to work and get us by. And our scout master was kind of a father figure, but they moved, and it just kind of died off for me after then. But then I did rowing crew. Speaking of being on the water at 5:30 a.m. Every morning. And an ultimate team sport, because if one person is just even a millisecond out of sync, it throws off the entire boat. But it was kind of like running a marathon on a balance beam. It was one of the toughest sports I've ever done, but that was the main effort.
It's like you're the blade on an ice skate on the ice, and you have to just keep that balance. That's that's very cool. I snowboard pretty hardcore, and so I ride my edge all the time, and it's all about balance. And for me, being 6'5" and 280 pounds, the size of a lineman, I'm totally all over the mountain on a snowboard.
Yeah, I hope nobody gets in front of you for too long, right? As you're barreling down.
Homie, it has happened almost once. Like just the other day, someone just came shooting out of the trees. They don't look left. They don't look right. They just shoot down their lane. They're focused. And I'm just like, whoa, right side. Like we're going to hit. You don't want that.
Yeah.
No, helmets.
We escape to the snow a couple of times a year. My daughter and I love to board. So we'll have to get up there and board with you sometimes.
Oh, you're invited. Come out. We'll ride Snowbird or Brighton Ski Resort out here and just give it a good old shredding. I know. Let's go to Brian. You come out here. Yeah, clandestine snowboard ops. You and me. You come out. Bring your kids.
Yeah.
That'd be a great time. Now, do you have another book that you're looking to write? Now that have you been bitten by this this author bug?
Actually, my second book, the first one that I wrote is called Warrior Diplomat, Green Beret Battles from Washington to Afghanistan. And that really covered, a lot of people realize that both the Navy SEALs and Green Berets have reserve units, which means you have to have a day job but still stay ready to go when called on. And my day job just happened to be helping Vice President Cheney as his counterterrorism advisor craft the strategy for the war on terrorism. And so I had this fascinating, back and forth of there I am in the White House Situation Room, Mr. President, this is the direction we need to go. And then I would get mobilized, as a reserve component, Green Beret, have to be the only idiot in Washington that actually had to go do the strategy that I'd helped to write. And then the fascinating part would be coming back and putting the coat and tie back on, taking the uniform off and going back in the White House and saying, hey, boss, I just spent the last year out there and we're not doing what you said to do. And here's all the things we're doing wrong. And so I did that back and forth for, over a decade and wrote a book about kind of looking at the war on terror from the White House, from being out on the ground, from the Pentagon. We made all kinds of mistakes, but at the end of the day, that doesn't mean we could just walk away like we did last year in that debacle of a withdrawal and just abandon our allies.
That was all crazy. Well, they kind of abandoned us too, right? Weren't we over there working with them? And then they just kind of like melted into the facade because they don't want to say who's kind of who, I mean, like there's lives on the line, so many, right?
No, you're absolutely right. And believe me, there was all kinds of corruption and flaws with the system and things we could have done better. And they absolutely should have done better. I guess my point is that Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and half the world's terrorist groups that still exist there, they didn't get the memo that
no.
President Biden just said, we're done, we're out, and this is over. They still, and the intelligence shows this, they still fully intend to hit us again, and they're developing the capability to do so. So, future American soldiers or special operators are going to have to go back and deal with it. And that's what has me so frustrated. Just like when we yanked out of Iraq kind of haphazardly in 2011, we saw the rise of the ISIS caliphate, and we had to go back to deal with it after hundreds of thousands of people were massacred and slaughtered.
That's also, with Syria trying to blur those lines. Syria's trying to take back, the Ottoman Empire. Okay, They want the lines back. They want the lines of Iraq. And where's the Kurds? Where are they? There's 30 million, 20 million people just wandering the land saying, where did my lines go?
Yeah.
How come my lines went away?
At least when we had to go back into Iraq, we had the Kurds to work alongside us. We had bases in Jordan and in northern Iraq. We had access from the ocean. I mean, our military had a lot more to work with in Afghanistan if we have to go back to deal, after another strike on the homeland. Then we've got no bases, not only in Afghanistan, but not a single country surrounding it. We have no local allies. They're being hunted down as we speak. They'll never work with us again if they survive. And we have no access really from the ocean. So it really is putting us in an impossible situation. And it's something I'm very focused on.
Afghanistan, since like dawn of time, has been almost they're a peaceful people, but when you start coming at them, they really take, their whole country as a bunker. You can go back to the Russians, you can go back to the US, and, you can go back to, the beginning when it was being fought over. It's just always been the people there. They love their land too. Right. And so they're going to just.
Yeah. Osama bin Laden picked one of the most, poor, mountainous, difficult, long history of resisting any type of outside influence. Be it Al-Qaeda picked one of the most difficult places in the world to spread their extremist ideology. You're right. It's not easy. But my point is, I want to fight it over there. not in our backyards here in the United States. I don't want to wait for
Correct.
another San Bernardino or Pulse nightclub, or God forbid another 9/11 to figure
We
this
don't need
out.
Red Dawn actual. Yes. Right.
No,
Right.
no,
I tell people all the time in my industry, I tell them, I'm like, if it comes here, it's too late.
that's
Can't
right.
have it. Like, I'm going to defend I was like, if it comes here, it's too late. We got to just, who was it? I can't think of the quote, but they say, good leaders can come out of a situation with no bloodshed. So,
Yeah.
that just tells you right now we have bloodshed. So let's just have good leaders so we can have no more bloodshed, right? Because I mean, it's crazy in the Ukraine, and I know your book is donating some the purchases or proceeds to the refugees from the Ukraine, right? Now, I'm of like help my neighbor. I'm of like, if you're at my door and you need a drink of water and you're not threatening me, here's a drink of water, right? It's like simple. Like I don't really want to turn anyone away. So with Ukrainian refugees, they're coming over to Utah, they're coming over to the U.S., and I'm not seeing a problem with that. How do you feel about that transpiring into the U.S. like that so quickly? We have the border situation, and then we have refugees coming in.
Yeah, we have to have appropriate levels of vetting. I also, supported the resettlement of many of the Afghan refugees. I mean, this is a nation of immigrants, and we're, Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty said it best, and we always have our doors open to the downtrodden and to those that are most threatened. That said, I contrast that. It is a bit different than having a wide open southern border. Where we have literally 2 million people a year now is what we're on track with no vetting. People from 120 different countries. There have been at least 30 that have been found on a terrorist watch list. My heart goes out to many of those migrants who are just desperately seeking a better life. But the reality of it is that it's making these drug cartels rich to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars a week. We have to have a managed immigration system. And one of my Afghan, partners that waited years and went through the system the right way, is now lives on the Texas border, and he's just furious at watching everybody kind of jump ahead of him and his
right
in line.
Like, I went through the process. How come they're not going through the process? Yeah.
No, and it's not fair to the immigrants who are waiting in line. It's not fair to American taxpayers who are, paying a portion of their hard-earned paycheck to get the services they deserve.
Well, let me segue then, because I hear you saying, like drug cartels are making millions of dollars off of, reaping the rewards. What if the U.S. just took a step back for a second, and just said, we relaxed the drug laws? Now, what do the cartels have other than human trafficking that we can really go after them for?
Yeah, look, I think it needs to be done in the right way. We actually just voted on a marijuana legalization bill. I ended up voting against it, even though I've supported things like allowing cannabis into the banking system, because having it all in cash is just a huge criminality and safety issue. But my issue and where things are getting hung up is, do you go and expunge a drug dealer, and let him out of prison that may be serving time? And so I think there's some details that we still have to work out. But
maybe nonviolent, maybe case wise, nonviolent wise, that would be an option if they didn't have like a gun involved, or if it was somebody had a couple joints on them and they just got the cuffs put on them, because that happens. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, and states are heading in that direction. I think eventually the federal government will as well. And then it's, where do you draw new lines with heroin, with cocaine, with, all types of other drugs, with meth that have devastated so many lives. And right now with fentanyl, the fentanyl's will kill more people this year than COVID, right? That's being manufactured in China.
Well, that's what's coming over is that bad stuff. Exactly. You're hitting it right on the head. It's bad. It's not good. But if it could be made in the USA and provided by some type of facility that was available in the community, and then they can go and, You know, like if you go to the ER and you have cancer and you need to get some pain meds, they'll give it to you. You'll have it, but they don't let you go home until they have overwatched you for the next 2
Right.
hours. Then
Yeah.
they'll let you go home.
So I think it's
So, you know, a little
I-
regulated. Yeah. It's just interesting, you know, because the drug cartels would probably be a little bit less, you know, anxious to get over here with their drugs if weed was like nationally legal. I didn't realize that vote had just happened and that you were involved in that. So that's
Yep.
kind of an interesting, you know, segue there as well. But what do you think about like back in the 30s? Go ahead.
No, I was just saying on the human trafficking piece, I mean, it is to the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars a week. And as a father, what breaks my heart is 30 to 40% of the girls that are migrating across our border, 30 to 40%. So do the math on, you know, when millions are coming across, are sold into human sex slavery, human trafficking, or sexually abused. It really is a humanitarian crisis. And to just kind of turn a blind eye or really do nothing about it is unacceptable.
I completely agree with that, and you know, it is unacceptable. I have two, you know, I have 3 kids. I know you're family, man. Those that are listening to the podcast right now, they're probably from a family. So, you know, no matter what, at the end of the day, right? They come from so yeah, you know, it's interesting just how something simple could just seem like it stops so many issues, but yet, you know, I appreciate your take on that, and you know, thanks for going to bat for your constituents, and you know, the people that put you in office are expecting you to go have these types of, you know, philosophies and thought processes, and I've got no problem with that. You see, a lot of people are totally like one side or the other side, or it's this or that. I just want to say, you know, there's multiple parties here in this in America for democracy to be achieved. Okay, because that's how it works. Is, you know, and I feel like if I was in there and we were talking, it would be a mutual conversation. And are you pretty? Is it the word bipartisan with your colleagues across the aisle? Are you pretty open to hearing both sides? Are they listening to you too?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I don't think we listen to each other as much as we should, and oftentimes it comes down,
Sure.
frankly, to our leadership, who, you know, and this is going to sound partisan, but I think particularly with Speaker Pelosi, that really focuses on scoring political points rather than, you know, really resolving a situation. But I co-founded a bipartisan caucus called the Four Country Caucus, as we're 4 country. It's all veterans. And we've all served on both sides of the aisle because, you know, in the foxhole or the plane or the ship, like nobody cares about political party. The enemy's bullets don't care. Perspective, we were willing to die together for that flag, then we could sit down in a room together and roll up our sleeves and hash it out or figure out where we agree or disagree. And so we're absolutely about that. And the committees that I'm on, armed services, and also science, space, and technology, we have a lot of bipartisan work. The media doesn't often report on it because the media loves drama, right? That's what drives clicks and viewers and ratings. But good bipartisan work actually does get done. We've had a defense bill that has passed every year for 61 years straight to take care of our men and women out on that wall. And to do that, we have to make compromises.
Yeah, we do have to make compromises, and that's what relationships are about. Is you know, whether you're getting married or you're going to get into business with someone, you have to make compromises in that relationship so that you can see success. It can't just be all one-sided. I always say, if you're talking to yourself, you're always right. Okay, so you know, if you don't throw it out there for someone else to maybe come back at you and say, hey, Rad, that's probably kind of a crazy idea. Oh, I'll think about that. You know, so back and forth, communicate, right? Even if it's like Morse code style, you know, like my dad used to be in the Green Berets. He would do Morse code all the time to me. Like, you know, we're going to communicate.
Yeah, it doesn't do you any good to be the smartest person in your own mind, right? All the time.
Yeah.
So that communication
and you know, and
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, and where you're at right now, we need all the smart minds. Okay,
Well,
I'm just gonna leave it at that.
yeah, I'm recruiting more veterans to run for office, and in the late 1970s, 3/4 of the Congress and the Senate, the House and the Senate, 75% were vets. Today, we're at a record low in our nation's history at 16%. And I'm convinced that record low in terms of vets in Congress explains a record amount of dysfunction. Because again, it's not that we agree on every issue. It's about that ethos of putting country first, getting the job done, having an objective mindset. If you fail in combat or in business, like bad things happen, and that's the mindset we need. So I've got Green Berets, Navy SEALs, pilots. We have a record number recruited to run for office this year, and it doesn't have to be for Congress. It can be for city council, for state representatives. I don't care if you're a local tax collector. It's that mindset that we need to get back to of service and putting country above self.
Yeah, most definitely, and that's why we have the greatest military in the entire world, is because it's an all volunteer military right now, and everybody there's choosing to be there. Some of the lifers that are like in their 20th year, you guys joined in a couple different presidents ago, and you guys are still staying through. And so, what I want to say to piggyback on what you just talked about, coming together is if everybody can just keep passing the budget bill for the military 61 years with who we have in, even with as many veterans as we had then and now, I like to hear that, okay? Because I really care about, body armor on my guys and gals that are fighting, and, and the redwood forests, okay? I mean, if we could just, and the manatees.
There we go. Well, and the other thing, that just while together that I think your listeners really need to be focused on is the threat that's coming from China. And when I say that, I mean the Chinese Communist Party, the government, not the wonderful, amazing culture and people. They fully intend to supplant the United States as a global leader. Chairman Xi, the leader of China, is openly talking about replacing the American dream with the China dream. And that's not a dream I want my kids and grandkids, an authoritarian view of the world that I want them growing up in. Their Navy is now larger than the United States Navy. They're launching more into space than the rest of the world combined, including the United States. At the end of the day, they're doing it on our money. Between what our pension funds are investing, Wall Street, Hollywood, academia, and every time you take a
real estate,
every time you take a stimulus check to Walmart and it goes right over to made in China manufacturing, it's all going over there to fund their military buildup, and it is something that we as a country have got to wake up to.
Right, it's almost like how Ford, the company, used to get the steel, and they'd bring it in one into the factory, and then like at Willy Wonka's factory, it'd be all, and then it shows a Chevy Silverado come out. But instead, we've gotten complacent of buying off the shelf these products that have been mined in other places, instead of owning the mine, the ethical workforce of the mine, keeping it, from farm to table, if you will, except, steel to Silverado, however you want to call it, right? So if we can bring that back to the American culture where, these big boys are pulling the products from their own owned mines and their own owned places and then bringing it all USA made. With that said, Mike, you Congressman, Colonel, American, homie that I called you on the show, I really appreciate you taking the time to take out of your busy schedule to chat with me and my listener that's on right now, and SOFREP. Really appreciate you, and would love to have you back on, and we can kind of pick up at another pace if you have any other items that you would like to talk about. I just want to say thanks on behalf of me and SOFREP and a nation. We are grateful. So welcome home from all those places you've been, if you've not been ever welcomed home. So welcome home from those. And do you have any last words you'd like to say?
Yeah, thanks. No, look, it's great to be on with you. Thanks for letting me talk about the children's book, Dawn of the Brave. Again, everybody can find it on bravebooks.com. And getting these uh, values, these ideals of service, of sacrifice, of putting a cause bigger than yourself as a real focal point in your life, I think so important to get into kids' minds at an early age. Not only will they be a better citizen and a better person, but we'll be a better country for it. So thanks for letting me talk about it, man. Happy to come on with you guys anytime and talk about what we're doing with the Armed Services Committee and Congress. Still, you got to get over to Normandy, and if you get a chance to jump out of a World War II aircraft over Normandy, even the better. But enjoyed it, man.
I'll let you tandem me. Remember, I'm 6'5", 280. You can tandem me, sir.
Yeah, we might need a bigger parachute for that one.
Give me a Humvee parachute. I'm no problem. If they can drop a Humvee, they can drop rad. Okay, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. And
all right. Well, thanks again.
I'll see you on the slope sometime.
Oh, for sure. And thank you, Congressman, Colonel Mike Waltz, awesome author, family man, and Floridian.